So after rewatching the entirety of the Terminator franchise, been a while for some of them, this is a franchise that I've got a love-hate relationship with. There's 6 of them, so let's rank all 6 of the Terminator movies. Just one quick thing before I give you my ranking of the Terminator movies. Make sure you let me know your ranking in the comment section down below. Which ones do you love, which ones do you hate, and which ones you wish you could go back in time and erase from existence. Let me know all that in the comment section down below. But with all that said, let's go on to my number 6 out of the Terminator franchise. And coming in last place for me is Terminator 3, The Rise of the Machine. This movie as a whole for me, I just think is extremely boring and extremely forgettable. This is actually my second time watching it. I think the first time I watched it was about 6 or 7 years ago when I first watched the Terminator franchise. Loved the first two. I've seen the first two multiple times. And after seeing the third one for the first time, I just thought, there's something weird about this, and I didn't like it. And then after watching it the most recent time, I know I don't like this movie. This movie tries to do a lot of comedy, which most of the comedy does not really land. I can't remember the guy who plays John Connor, but he probably feels the least like John Connor out of everyone. Even Jason Clarke did a better interpretation of John Connor. I don't like Arnold in this movie, and that's kind of mad to say that you don't like Arnold in a movie. The main Terminator villain that we have, the TX, is just, it feels odd. They feel like they're trying to outdo the T-1000 or the T-800, but they don't really know what to do to outdo it, so they just kind of make a weird Terminator that doesn't really work for me. As I said, the humor doesn't work for me. It's very boring. I don't think it even cracks 2 hours long, but the movie drags out. It just kind of tries to copy Terminator 2 in a way by doing some of the similar plot beats, but none of them land. It tries to copy Terminator 2, but really doesn't do anything properly and doesn't do anything right. It's just a movie that I wish didn't exist. I don't like it. It's a movie that I can't see myself going back to watch anytime soon. I really do not like Terminator 3. And coming in at number 5 is Terminator Genesis, aka Terminator 5. I actually only seen this movie for the first time last year. Didn't really know what to expect. Everyone kind of gave out about it, but I really didn't know what to expect. All I knew was that Emilia Clarke was playing Sarah Connor. Didn't really know how that worked, so didn't know what was going to happen. But the movie as a whole, I think it's fun, but I think it's all over the place. I think it's got like 7 or 8 storylines that they're trying to work together. It's like they actually had a planned trilogy, but it's like they tried to squish the entire trilogy into one, and there's just so many storylines going all over the place. Arnold in this movie is pretty funny. I actually really like the relationship between Arnold and Emilia Clarke. I think they work off each other really well. Jai Courtney though, as what's his name? I can't remember the guy's name, but I think he's terribly miscast. He does not work in the movie. He's actually the weakest link out of the entire movie. I think Jason Clarke as John Connor doesn't really work. The guy's name is Kyle Reese. Jason Clarke as John Connor, I thought he was fine. He didn't really feel like John Connor to me. He feels more like John Connor than the guy in Terminator 3. I think the twist of John Connor being a Terminator, this movie came out 6 years ago now. If you haven't seen it now, it's your own fault. But the twist of him being a Terminator didn't really work for me. I thought it was a bit weird. I knew that because that wasn't the trailer, but this movie as a whole, it's just throwing so much at the screen, hoping something sticks. But as we know, it didn't stick because it never got a second movie. Next up, I've got Terminator Salvation or Terminator 4. This movie is the most kind of freshest movie in this franchise, in the fact that it's the one that's completely different to the rest. It's the only one that takes place in the future, that we actually get to see the war that was talked about for 3 movies prior to this one as well. In Terminator 5, we actually hear them talk about this war once again. You've got Christian Bale playing John Connor, who I think is probably the perfect person to play John Connor. He played him really well, but my problem with Christian Bale as John Connor in this movie is the fact that he feels more like a sidelined character. He doesn't feel like the main character, which is kind of weird for John Connor to be a kind of sidelined character in a Terminator movie. The guy who plays Marcus, who is pretty much our main character, I was intrigued by his story. I didn't know the twist within this movie, so the kind of reveal that happened with him, I was actually pretty shocked by. Seeing the war itself was pretty interesting as well. The fact that they're not fighting T-800s or T-1000s, they're just fighting these Terminators that are kind of lesser ones, so we know that there is more to come. We get that little CGI Arnold at the end, but that was kind of like a nice wink and a nod. As a whole, this movie, I enjoy it. I think it's completely fresh. I don't understand why people hate on this movie, because people hate on this movie. Up until Terminator Genesis came out, everyone was saying how this is the worst Terminator movie, which never really understood. I actually think this movie is a bit of fun, and I do actually watch this one a fair bit. And in third place, I've got Terminator Dark Fate, or Terminator 6. I went into this movie expecting absolutely nothing. I thought it'd be crap. It's actually no, I've seen Terminator 2 in cinemas too, so I've seen Terminator 2 and Terminator 6 in cinemas, but I really wasn't expecting much. I think what happened to John Connor, I was a bit shocked by at the start of it. I still am a bit shocked to this day, but I actually think it works really well. It kind of lets you know what kind of movie to expect, and it's not kind of focused on him. And I like the story it's told. I think the two new characters that we get introduced to, they're kind of forgettable in a way that I actually can't remember their names. But I like the one who's got the robotic parts, who's kind of half Terminator. I like her as a character. I think the action in this movie is kind of gritty and dirty. You see them fight with chains, and it's a lot more brutal than other Terminator movies prior to this, just in the action. I think the actions are just a bit more dirtier. Arnold is probably the funniest he's ever been in this franchise. In this movie, I think he's hilarious. He's like, has a scene where he's talking about curtains to someone, as it was just so weird to see a Terminator talk like that. Linda Hamilton was just pleasant surprise to see her back. She worked really well. She just fell right back into this movie like she was never gone. I think she worked really well in this movie. She's actually my favourite part about this movie. She really made this movie her own, and it's probably one of the main reasons I like this movie as much as I do, is the fact that Linda Hamilton is here. They actually set up a sequel in this movie, and this is the only one out of all of the like 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the only one I actually would like to see a continuation on, see what happens next, because the way this movie wraps up, it lets you know that stuff does happen next, and honestly, I do want to see what happens next. And my runner-up is the Terminator. A lot of people go back and forth if they like the first movie or the second movie. For me, I think Terminator has always been just a slightly lower. Actually, not really slightly. It's been a good bit lower. Even though I think this movie is fantastic. For me, out of all the movies, I have all these movies on just with my normal Blu-rays. But I have the Terminator with my horror collection, because to me, this is a slasher movie that works really well. Having Arnold Schwarzenegger in his definitive role, whenever I hear Arnold, I immediately think of the Terminator. Pretty much like most people do. But what he's able to do in this movie, be such a massive threat. Just the look of him in this movie is terrifying. Seeing like when his face gets ripped to pieces, the fact that no matter what, he is chasing them is just fantastic. Kyle Reese in this movie is the best he's been in this franchise. We've seen him in this movie as well as the 4th and the 5th installment, but this is by far his best version of him. I can't remember the actor's name, but I think him and Linda Hamilton have such amazing chemistry in this movie. Linda Hamilton and him work so well together. The fact that the story is literally just him trying to keep her safe from the Terminator, working through this massive kind of journey they're going through, I just think it's fantastic. The script writing in this movie works really well, setting up the world around it as a whole, letting you know that there could be stories next, but there doesn't have to be stories next. And to see what happens at the end of this movie, just fantastic. I love this movie. It's one that I watch at least once a year, if not more. But it does not come in at number 1. And coming in at number 1, the obvious choice for most people, T2 Judgment Day. I absolutely love this movie. Ever since the first time I saw it, I went into it not really expecting as much going off the first movie, because I was kind of thinking at that stage, oh yeah, first movie is probably the best. Let's see what the second one brings us. And I was just blown away from the very first time I saw it. I've loved this movie. I watch it all the time, like at least once or twice, or even sometimes 3 times a year. I just think this movie is fantastic. It is by far the best movie in the franchise. It's one of my favorite action movies. It's one of my favorite adventure movies. It is just one of my favorite movies of all time. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Edward Furlong and Linda Hamilton are a fantastic trio throughout this movie. I buy all their chemistry. They all work really well together. I think Edward Furlong and Arnold Schwarzenegger, the relationship they build is unlike any other in this entire franchise. The T-1000, unfortunately, I could have met Robert Patrick last summer. Well, by last summer I actually mean summer of 2019. For some stupid reason, I decided not to meet him, and I regret it to this day. Hopefully one day I can meet him, because I would love to meet Robert Patrick. But he's such, just like Arnold was in the first movie, he's such a menacing bad guy where, again, he doesn't really say much, but he's just so intimidating looking. And the bigger viewer, I actually didn't know it the first time I watched it, when you think Arnold is going to kill the cop and then it's revealed that the cop is actually after him. I was shocked by it. I maybe ran down to my dad and said, I couldn't believe that, and he was like, oh yeah, that's what I was like back in the day too. The movie, I just love it. This Edward Furlong is my definitive John Connor. I love this movie. As I said, besides Terminator Dark Fate, this is the only other Terminator movie I got to see in cinema. And if they play that again in cinema, I will go in a heartbeat to see this movie in cinema, because I love this movie to death. I love the truck chasing scene. I love the minigun minute. I've got literally two figures here from Terminator 2, and I got Terminator Dark Fate. But these two, I absolutely love these figures because I love this movie so much. If you have not seen Terminator 2, why haven't you seen Terminator 2? But I'm assuming if you have, it's probably your number one as well. So that's my ranking of all 6 of the Terminator movies. Make sure you let me know your ranking in the comments section down below. Let me know which ones you love, let me know which ones you hate, and did you disagree with me? Let me know all that in the comments section down below. Also, if you want to see more content from me in the future, make sure you click that subscribe button so you can come back and see more rankings and reviews in the future. But with all that said, thanks for watching.